Hey, what's going on, guys? Princeton Clark here, and you're tuned into another episode of Evolved Mastery. And today, you guys get me live and direct. I have a special topic that I want to talk about, and it's the power of authenticity. Now, a lot of the times you hear people talk about authenticity, but let's really dive into it today. What does it mean to truly be authentic to you? And how can being authentic really shift or not shift your life? We're going to get right into that. And I got some announcements after this podcast recording. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get right into this podcast. But what I want you to do is get your heart set, get your mind set, and let's get present as we dive into this episode of Evolved Mastery. All right, guys, here we go. I hope you guys are ready. You're energized and you're ready to really step into a more powerful state of being and creation and manifestation in your life. But I wanted to have this conversation today. As I said, we're going to talk about the power of authenticity. See, a lot of the times as we're growing, we're looking at our lives, we're evaluating our lives, we're being programmed by our lives and the circumstances, situations, the people, the experiences that are all being processed at the same time as we grow. And a lot of these things can tailor or create this personified idea of self that we identify and we label and we say, this is just who I am. This is how I've always been. We have all these ideas of self. And we say, this is me being my authentic self. This is me being true to me. But I want to challenge that a little bit today. I want to have a conversation. I want to ask you, are you truly being authentic? And what are you being authentic to? What do I mean by that? Well, for me, I tell people all the time that the authentic version of Princeton that I used to be could have never created the life that I now create. The way that I used to think, the way that I used to feel, the way that I used to respond in different areas and in different relationships, and the way that I used to just react to things. It was authentic to that version of Princeton. But when I started assessing my life, I started looking at what was truly possible for my life. I had to ask myself a very important question. I had to ask myself this question. I had to ask myself, is this version of Princeton and this level of authenticity going to manifest and create the reality that that version of Princeton can create? See, because that version of Princeton being authentically in alignment with his power, potential, and purpose has to be able to flow, respond, feel, create, and speak a certain way. And so a lot of the times this is hard for people to do because they feel like they're not being true to themselves when they have to grow and evolve, when they're not shifting how they show up, when they're not shifting how they think, when they're not shifting how they speak, when they're not shifting these different areas of their lives, how they show up in relationships, so on and so forth. But I hear so much talk about authenticity in the personal development space. I hear so much talk about authenticity as it pertains to how people show up in their lives. And I want to challenge it today because I see a lot of people saying, I'm being authentically me. And for the first time, I feel free. Now, that's great. That's great that you're owning the power of being that version of you. But the real question is that version of you going to get the results of the potential and purpose that you desire? Or is that version of you going to move the needle in the direction of what you feel you have the ability to create? Because the truth is, for most people, I don't care how conscious, how spiritual, religious, whatever they ascribe to, I don't care what the belief system is, at the end of the day, if you're not living in a way that's authentic to the version of you that you have the power, potential, and purpose to create, then guess what? You're never going to see the manifestation of that. So is this version of you authentically being you capable of manifesting this version of your life? Now, for me, as I said, that old version of Princeton coming out of gangs, drugs, failed suicide attempt, abuse, molestation, all that stuff, that version of Princeton being authentically him, authentically feeling how he felt, authentically speaking what he felt, authentically thinking how he thought in that version and that state of his life could have never created or manifested this version of Princeton, who is an international best-selling author, who is an international speaker, international guide, coach, spiritual mentor. That version of Princeton, being authentically Princeton, could have never been this version of me to create this life. I would have never created a podcast that now reaches over 93 countries, because the state of being, the state of thought, the state of emotion, the state of feeling that I was creating from was not substantial enough to create this reality. And so a lot of people are stuck financially, they're stuck mentally, they're stuck emotionally, they're stuck relationally, they're stuck professionally in their lives. And it's because in some area of their life, they're not being authentic to the version of them that they have the potential to be. Now, let's talk about this for a little bit. Now, in every person, I talked about this recently on the Live This Life podcast hosted by Heath Cummings, and it was just an amazing conversation. And I thought I would just continue the conversation over here on Evolved Mastery. But we were talking about, personality versus spirituality. Now, understand, we're all spirits on a journey having different human experiences. And along our journey as kids, when we come into this world, we're fully expressive. Everything is about newness. It's about evolving. It's about learning something new. It's about growing, and we celebrate the growth. We honor the growth. We respect the growth. But then somewhere along the way, people who've been on the journey a little bit longer, who've been hurt, who've been programmed, they start telling us, no, you can't be like this in the real world. You got to think like this. You got to speak like this. You got to show up this way if you want to be approved. And we start creating this measuring system for ourselves for what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, what's beautiful, what's ugly, because it's programmed into us. And this puts us in a box. And so what we have to start doing is really going back to when we were younger and asking, okay, what beliefs did I take on? What experiences did I have? What words did I speak? How did I label my life? How did I label myself? And how have I created this personified idea of self that has me where I am now in my life? Because where you are now is a sum of where you've been in the past, how you've shown up in the past, how you felt in the past, how you've labeled the past. It's now created this reality. And so a lot of people are looking at their current reality. They're not fulfilled. They don't feel whole in their life because they are disconnected from the process of creativity. They are disconnected from the process of manifestation, learning something new and evolving. They have identified and created this persona that they now say is them. As a result, they're not getting certain results. They've stopped manifesting newness. They've stopped growing in all areas. They've stopped expanding and seeing all possibility as new opportunities. As a result, their life is no longer evolving either. Their opportunities, their vision, the things that they want are not manifesting. And so this goes back to the question, are you truly being your authentic self? Are you truly being the creative, powerful, possible version of you? Or are you so rigid in your personified construct that you won't move? You won't change because you feel like if I change, then I'm changing for other people. No, stop looking at it like that. Are you changing for you? Are you changing for your vision? Are you changing for your purpose? Are you changing to manifest those better relationships? Are you changing to embody the principles, the beliefs, the actions, and the feelings that are orchestrating this reality for you? See, change is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to these personified ideas of self, because for most people, I can look at most of my clients and I can look at their lives and I can see that in this area, the reason you're struggling is because you're truly not being authentic to the version of you required in order to manifest what you say you want. And so what you want or what you say you want is always in a place of seeming like it's at arm's distance. It's so close, but yet it's so far away. And yet you can touch it, you can feel it internally because it's your vision, but it's just not showing up. And sometimes it'll show up, sometimes it doesn't. And this is because we revert back to an old out of alignment version of ourselves, that version that is not in alignment with what we say we want, that version that's not in alignment with the level of success we want to manifest, that version that's not in alignment with having healthier relationships, feeling whole, creating wealth, so on and so forth. See, you have to show up in a way that manifests and honors that version of that reality that you want to create. And this means you have to be willing to evolve. You have to be willing to let go of yesterday and all the days former, and you have to be present in today. And you have to be real with yourself about how you're showing up, how you're believing about your life, how you're speaking about your life, how you're thinking about your life, so on and so forth. How many of you actually do that daily? I always say Princeton is different every day. Whatever Princeton is required to do daily in order to manifest a newer aspect to his reality, I have to now flow from a state that Princeton now manifests and shows up, because Princeton is who I say Princeton is. See, Princeton to the world is an identity. My mom has an idea of Princeton. The world has an idea of Princeton. Everybody that I encounter has an idea of Princeton. But see, what I learned long ago is that I can't get lost in the ideas that other people have for me. I can't get lost in the labels that the world has created for me. I create that every single day. I show up in that every single day, and I get to choose optionally what I am going to do daily in order to manifest a new reality that's in alignment with the dream and the vision and the purpose that I believe is possible for me. And I can't be rigid. I have to be like water. I have to be able to flow daily, breathe daily, new breath, new opportunity. I have to be able to let myself just be in the space that I am in without feeling like I have to push and hustle and grind because that's what this person did and that's what this person did and that's what all these people are doing. I have to be free, just like the little child who goes to a playground and sees nothing but opportunity, new friends, new ways to express him or herself, and who just runs in with no reserve and just flows and just being what that moment requires them to be. But you look at a child, if they don't want to do something, they're not going to do it. If it's not in alignment with what brings them joy in the moment, if it's not in alignment with what brings them peace in the moment, if it's not in alignment with what makes them feel loved in the moment, guess what? The child will revolt against it because it's not in alignment with their spirit. And see, this is the conversation that I've been having a lot lately, because working high level in the coaching and speaking industry, I see so many people who are creating these personified ideas of self that are really rigid, and they fight to uphold and fight to create these realities where they look like or sound like something that they're really not. And so even if they achieve success, they still don't feel whole, still don't feel complete. And if you were to take all the success away from them, they would have no peace, because their entire identity is wrapped up in an idea, a personified idea of self. And when I saw that working high level, I said, you know what? No, that's not in alignment with me. It pricked something in me. And I said, I want to be able to be free to just flow. And so coming into this year, I always say I have 2 words coming into every year. And so my words this year were depth and freedom. I wanted to have more depth of connection in my relationships. I wanted to have more depth of connection in my vision. I wanted to have more depth of connection, first and foremost, in my own spirit. And I wanted to have the freedom to express that in my relationships and in my conversations and in my thoughts and in my actions. And I've been very intentional about creating that coming into this year, because I almost lost myself, guys. I have to be completely honest. I almost lost myself in a personified idea of self that I thought the world needed to see. But now I realize I don't have to be anything other than what my spirit reveals to me. I don't have to be anything other than what my vision reveals to me. And then I have to daily respond, speak, think, and feel into that. And I have to ask myself, in my most authentic, free-flowing form, what can I do? What can I manifest? And how can I show up in my life each day in a way that authentically honors that? Not an idea of self, not an experience, but that deep soul urge, that deep soul desire. And this is a place that most people don't take the time to go. They don't know how to process through this. They don't know how. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about this today, because it's very important for you to, number one, just start processing and observing your life in this way. Because the reason you are out of alignment is because you are not truly living authentically in the version of you that's capable of manifesting your goal, your dreams, that wholeness, that completion in your life. And, so many people are striving to be something because once they become this, they can manifest this, then everything is going to be great. And so they're constantly fighting for this perfect state. But I say that every state is perfect, perfectly creating a reality that is perfectly ours in every experience, whether we like it or not. Because as creators, we are perfect designers. We are perfect creators. And if we don't take ownership of that, then we become like a leaf blowing in the wind, carried about just in the flows of life externally, because we don't live from an internal place. And this is why I always say you can't talk about personal or professional development until you talk about spiritual development, because if you don't know what you are, you'll never understand or fully comprehend what you have the capability of manifesting and being in your life. So I want you guys to think about that today. I did a 5-day challenge this past week, a Reboot Your Destiny 5-day challenge. And I gave them the activity. I said, take a piece of paper. On one side of that piece of paper, write down what your current reality looks like. Write down what you are creating authentically from the version of you right now. And I want you to assess, do you feel whole in that reality? Are you manifesting a sense of peace, a sense of love and creativity in that reality? Or do you feel bound? Do you feel stuck? Do you feel like your life is not manifesting? Do you feel like it's not growing and it's not moving? Do you feel stagnant? Do you feel depressed? I want you to really look at what you are choosing to create based on how you think, speak, respond, and show up in your life in every area. Now, on the other side of that piece of paper, I want you to write what that reality is that your vision has revealed to you. I want you to write down what an ideal version of your life would look like if you could create it. And I only say if you could create it because it's true that you can create whatever you want to create. But just hypothetically, if you could create it, if you could do it right now, what would that look like? Now, at the bottom, I want you to write out what steps you could start taking right now to manifest that more optimal reality that's in alignment with what brings you joy, what brings you peace, what makes you feel whole, what makes you feel complete, what's creating sustainability and sustenance in your life that will allow you to be fruitful and multiply in your life. I want you to imagine those better relationships. I want you to imagine communicating better. I want you to imagine being honest, being open, and being freely you, and creating a life that's in alignment with that version of you. And then I want you to, again, assess how you can choose to think differently, speak differently, respond differently, and feel differently. As you begin to do that, you're going to meet another authentic version. And this authentic version of you is going to be the authentic version that can create and manifest that reality. Now you're going to have to ask yourself, what aspects of this version of me that I have identified with do I need to let go of? What aspects of my own ego, my own self-judgment, criticism, or idealism do I need to release in order to step into this flow of creativity, in order to create this personality that's capable of manifesting these things in my life? Now, listen, this may be a tough exercise for some people, especially if you're just beginning your personal development journey. But it is one of the most valuable exercises you can do. It will bring you face to face with yourself, how you choose to show up, how you choose not to show up, and what you're creating or failing to create as a result of that. And you have to be willing to accept what's staring you back in the face, because this will put the mirror in front of you. Because it's not the world's fault that you're not manifesting what you have the power, potential, and purpose to manifest. At the end of the day, if I'm not manifesting, it's because in some way that I am creating in my life, I am not showing up in a way to manifest it. The only thing ever stopping you from being what you have the capability of being and manifesting is you. I have to have conversations with Princeton daily. I have to have communication at a very deep level with myself daily. And I have to be honest with myself daily. And I have to ask, is this version of Princeton really in alignment with the way that I want to feel, the way that I want to create, and what I want to manifest in my vision, my purpose, my relationships, my business, so on and so forth. These are things that you should be doing daily. This should be a daily practice. Every day, Princeton is I'm not the same Princeton that I was yesterday or the day before or the day before. I can't be authentic to anything past. I can only be authentic to what is necessary presently. And as I do that, I am constantly giving myself the permission and the space to evolve the way I show up. I am constantly and consistently giving myself permission to assess, to test, and then to really step forward in what's truly in alignment for me today. But I am always thinking on that vision in my heart, that purpose in my heart, the true desires of my heart, not my head. See, because your head is being perplexed. Another thing that I was talking about in the podcast with Heath Cummings on his podcast, Live This Life. You guys, if you're not following the Live This Life podcast, please go follow it. Check it out. Show some love. Leave a rating. Leave a review. Let Heath know I sent you. He has such a valuable wealth and well of knowledge that he shares from his own journey of self-mastery. And I promise you won't regret it. But another thing that we were talking about was just how so many people are in this space where they've lived so deep in their past for so long that finally, when they make the decision to grow spiritually now, it's so hard. And listen, I told him, I feel very empathetic towards people who are taking that deeper spiritual journey right now. Because see, when I started my journey, there was no social media. There weren't all these apps. There were no smartphones as they are now. We had camera phones that had access to the internet, but it was nothing like it is now. And so I didn't have all the distractions. I wasn't tuning into some form of media all day long. The only time I got on the computer was to create audio, to put on CD, to burn, or to record a session or something like that. That's the only time I got on the computer, unless I was producing music, something along that line. But once I was done with it, I was off the computer and I was living my life. I was reading, I was meditating, I was journaling. I really had so much peace because I didn't have all the noise. Nowadays, there's so much noise. And if you are not taking time to disconnect from that noise, it is difficult. Put your phone down when you wake up in the morning. Don't look at it. You'll see how addicted you are to these things, and they're designed for you to be addicted to them. They make money because you are addicted to them. And then we have Netflix and Hulu. Back in the day, you had to if you didn't go to a video store like Blockbuster or something like that, you weren't going to watch a movie. You couldn't just binge watch a series. You couldn't just watch a plethora of movies. But now everything is so quick, fast, and in a hurry, and everything is so readily available that you don't realize how much of a distraction it is. Everybody says, oh, but it's so convenient. No, it's a distraction. It's noise. If it's not adding to your life, evolving your life, or helping you to manifest the best life that you have the potential, power, and purpose to create, guess what? It is a distraction. And see, I didn't have all of that. And so when I look at people today and they're wondering why they're struggling, it's because they're too distracted. They're distracted by what the Joneses are doing and how they're manifesting their life and how happy they look and how successful their business is and how peaceful they are. And they're distracted by the drama of the wars. Wars have always been going on. Racism has always existed. Prejudice has always existed. There's nothing new. But now, because you are so distracted and it's in your face every single day, it seems like this big negative thing. You need to disconnect from it. I always say, if I can't change it or do anything about it, I don't need to focus on it. What's the one thing I can change and do something about every single day? My life, my feelings, my emotional state, my vision, my purpose, my family. See, those are things that I can impact daily. And so I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to stay in alignment. with what's truly authentic in my life. See, so many people are drawn in so many different directions and they are forming so many different opinions. And then they're identifying and giving identity to these different opinions, which further deepens their personified idea of self that they say is authentically them. And then from there, they wonder why they're stuck. They wonder why they're not growing or evolving. Guys, it's not rocket science. And so I wanted to come on and just have this conversation today because I wanted to give you guys something quick to think about. Because really, this is your journey. Your journey is not Princeton's journey. But I really wanted to challenge you to think. So as this podcast ends, I want you to start processing. Do the exercise on one side of the piece of paper. Write down your life as it is, authentically you. And then I want you to write on the right side what you wish or what you have the potential power and purpose to create if you choose to. What do you truly desire? And are those desires in alignment with peace, love, joy? Do they make you feel fulfilled and whole? And then at the bottom or on the back, I want you to write out the steps you can start taking to create authentically that version of your life. And from there, I want you to start taking action. See, I always say every vision is made up of 3 key components: the what, the must, and the action. Get very clear on what it is you truly want and understand that in order to actualize what you truly want, you have to really look at how you're showing up. Again, how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, how I'm responding, and really just actualizing my life from every aspect. Is this version of the authentic me capable of creating authentically this version of my life, this version of my vision, this version of my purpose? And if it's not, I have to let it go. I have to shave it off. I have to make room. I have to evolve, because if I don't evolve, if I don't grow, I become stagnant. My energy becomes stagnant. And now, because my energy isn't moving, it's not creating, and it's not forming what's truly in me to create, I indirectly go into this depressive state. And if I stay there for long enough, guess what happens? Depression sets in. And this is why most people are where they are today. So listen, I want you guys to think about that. I hope this is really giving you something to process spiritually, mentally, emotionally, soulfully. And I hope you really start taking action on this. See, because it does you no good if you just listen, but you don't apply. This one step right here could change your life today, if you will it to be so. Are you ready? Are you ready to evolve? Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Evolved Mastery. I'm your host, Princeton Clark. I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of it. Please, if you have not yet done it, subscribe, rate, and please leave a review. You guys help me to continue to create more content. You also help me to reach more people as my ratings get boosted. But like I said, right now we're reaching 93 countries and steadily expanding, and there's so much more on the way. I have upcoming events. I'm also going to be speaking at the Embrace Your Ambition event in June. It's the 16th through the 18th, and it's hosted by my brother, Marcus Black, and his partner, my sister, Ashley Faye. Check it out at eyambition.com/Denver. Go ahead and check it out. Also, if you want to get connected with me, head on over to Instagram at Princeton Clark. You can also check me out at www.princetonclark.com and evolvedmastery.com. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. Reach out, join my community. If you go to my Instagram and go to the link tree in my bio, you can find all my links. You can find all the different platforms that the podcast is hosted on. And you can also connect to my Facebook group and stay in tune with upcoming events and all that good stuff. But listen, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I want to see you stepping into your authentic power to create the life you have the power, potential, and purpose to. I love you guys, and I'll be talking to you soon.